When it comes to living in spiritual victory, what would you say is the worst enemy that you have? Is it Satan? Many people like to blame him. Or maybe it's your peers or your family members who maybe they're trying to get you to sin, and maybe they just want to see you respond in anger. But what is the worst enemy? Today's quote, we'll take a look at that and be reminded our worst enemy for living in spiritual victory. The worst enemy you have to overcome, after all, is yourself. Hi friends, I'm Pastor Josh, and I'm excited that you took a couple minutes out of your day to come so that we can look at a quote together and continue developing the mind of Christ. Today's quote was brought to us by D.L. Moody. D.L. Moody challenges us with the truth of overcoming the worst enemy in life. This quote came from his book, The Overcoming Life, which was written many years ago, but still is very applicable for the Christian life today. How will you and I overcome the worst enemy? But the reality is, who is the worst enemy? He challenges us with the truth that we must look at ourselves and see what is it that's really drawing us away from Christ. Romans chapter 7, verses 23 through 25, the Apostle Paul challenges us with this very same truth. He says, "But I see another law in my members, warring against the law of my mind, and bringing me into captivity to the law of sin which is in my members. O wretched man that I am, who shall deliver me from the body of this death? I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord. So then with the mind I myself serve the law of God, but with the flesh the law of sin." The Apostle Paul was challenging us from this passage who his worst enemy really was. In verse 23 he says, "There's a war inside me." Now it's not like World War II, but there is an internal war. Sometimes on the cartoons we see the devil on one shoulder and we see an angel on the other. But what the Apostle Paul is saying is that his flesh wars against his mind or his spirit. His mind wants to please God, but his flesh is strong. His worst enemy is himself. In the next verse, verse 24, he says, "O wretched man that I am." He realizes that in his own flesh he cannot obey God. He cannot overcome sin. He says, "Who shall deliver me from this body?" And then in verse 25 he says, "It's God. I thank God through Jesus Christ our Lord." The only way that you and I can live the overcoming life is through Jesus Christ. It's not by going through life and holding ourselves back from our flesh, but it's by allowing God to change the way we live by transforming the way we think. See, the Apostle Paul said, "O wretched man that I am, but thanks be to God." It's Jesus Christ our Lord who gives us the victory. The only way that you and I can live the overcoming life today is through the power of God. So will you do it? When it comes to your parents, or your children, or your spouse, or your friends, maybe it's your thoughts towards them, or the words you say. Maybe it's your attitude. Will you yield to God so that you can live the overcoming life? When you look at your life through the next year, or maybe even through the next few years, will you still struggle with the same sins, or will you live the overcoming life? I want to live the overcoming life, but it's a daily battle against my flesh that I must yield to God so that He can give the victory. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I hope this thought has challenged you so that you can live the overcoming life, and that together we can develop the mind of Christ. If this has been helpful, would you consider sharing this with a friend? That way all of us can continue growing to be more like Christ. I look forward to seeing you next time.